before the movie started. We like to try to do this periodically. The lady that's seated in the first row here, Jenny Broussard, is our membership coordinator, and she likes to refer to this activity as an appreciation of the film that you just saw. Discussion really going really deeply into some sort of philosophical explanation as to what transpired in the past 135 minutes is probably not going to happen here, but what you have seen is Mr. Paul Thomas Anderson's 6th film. He's been at this since about 1996, as far as making features are concerned. The other titles, if you'll permit me, I'll rattle them off here. It started off with a movie called Hard 8 in 1996, Boogie Nights, 1997, Magnolia, 99, Punch Drunk Love, 2002, There Will Be Blood, 2007, and you have just watched his 2012 exercise in cinema. So I would like to
call it a masterpiece, actually.
My name is Barry Steelman, by the way, and I work here. And I was I'm supporting my dear friend Stephen Ambra, who has come over here from NHTI to hopefully lend a little light on Mr. Anderson and what he thought of the film. And just so I can say a few more things and then shut up, I'm going to give you 2 different approaches as far as reviews are concerned. Very just short, brief verbiage from a review by A.O. Scott, which appeared in the September 14th issue of the New York Times in regards to The Master. The strange and complicated story it has to tell exists beyond the reach of doubt and verification. The cumulative artifice on display is beautiful. Camera movements that elicit an involuntary gasp, passages in Johnny Greenwood's score that raise the hair on the back of your neck, feats of acting that defy comprehension. But all of it has been marshaled in the pursuit of a new kind of cinematic truth. This is a movie that defies understanding, even as it compels reverent, astonished belief. As opposed to Amy Diaz in a recent issue of The Hippo. And Amy says, The Master is a very long movie where 2 admittedly good actors ham it up to such extraordinary degree you're surprised that anything aside from their egos can fit on the screen. I didn't once care about the characters or the story or anything beyond the movie, just hurrying up and ending already. 2 very different feelings towards what transpired in Mr. Anderson's film. Stephen Ambra, what did you think of this?
Well, actually, I wanted to start, Barry, by asking, since everyone is sitting here, what they saw. What did you think you see when you're watching this film? And you're here listening to us. So I'll ask you the David Stewart question of the day, which is, what did you think? And what did you like, didn't like about the film? Why are you actually still sitting here listening to us? I think you found something compelling, hopefully, in the film that is keeping you here.
It was just confusing, and we want you to untangle it for us.
You found it a little bit confusing.
Yes, I just want to say that I'm disappointed because I felt that they didn't thoroughly develop the character that was supposed to be our Ron Hubbard, and they didn't really let us know what was wrong with the other fellow. Was he just insane? I'd like to know if anybody else thought he was insane and that the main character wasn't able to help him. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. This movie, I think, was a display of cruelty. This is extremely cruel. This fellow was insane, vulnerable, totally down on his luck, suffering from PTSD post-World War II. This fellow takes him in, manipulates him, and spits him out. And this L. Ron Hubbard figure is clownish and a bore. You know, I wish we get a lot more message out of this. This reminds me a bit of Raging Bull. Robert De Niro won an Oscar, beautiful piece of acting, but Jake LaMotta, if Picasso were to do a painting of a garbage can, it would be beautiful because that's Picasso. They're wonderful actors, but this thematically was ugly and cruel.
They didn't give him
See,
enough.
now, I would, one of the things I thought about, a good way of actually watching this film, and it might be tough going, is to take There Will Be Blood, watch that film, and then watch this film immediately after.
Also a cruel movie.
Both are very, very difficult, but I think that they both reveal a little bit about what Anderson is looking at. And he's looking at, I think, megalomania, and I think in this film, more than in There Will Be Blood, I think you have almost like two stars, a dark star and a light star, that are orbiting each other. And I think the performance by Philip Seymour Hoffman is so subtle and nuanced, and he is all of those things that you say he is. But he's a charlatan, he's a manipulator, but if you scratch the surface, and there's one scene where he reveals that he is almost the same person that the character of Joaquin Phoenix plays. They're so close, they're so drawn, so attached, that they are pulled together and they sort of orbit around. I think the real dangerous element behind all this, because those two characters, I don't know if they have such incredible depth, but I think the real personality, the real, if I want to say evil or wickedness, or a person who's such a degree of manipulation, is the person of the wife. I think she is the, I don't want to call power behind the throne, but she is the person who you can just feel. You get that sense that what she's doing.
Lady Macbeth.
She seemingly has a lot of
Very
influence.
She was wonderful.
But she
What?
doesn't have that much power on him. She's the purist.
Yeah, that's
She's
true.
the purist of the religion, but she doesn't have, well, from my point of view, she wants to have power over him, but he listens, but he doesn't really.
But I think it's because of the attraction that he has for Joaquin Phoenix. And I've been, so since the last time I watched this, I was wondering, you know, how could I make this, what questions or what comments I could make for an appreciation that helps. You know, when I talk with my students, I say, you know, take a look. Where is the camera placed? What is the angle? Who is shooting? Where are they shooting? What is the use of light? What is the use of shadow? And it seems to me that even in broad daylight, the character of Joaquin Phoenix is always in shadow. There's one scene towards the end where they're in England. I think it's one of the most remarkable sequences, because Lancaster Dodd has his back to this huge window, and yet he's in full light, and the light should be reflecting on Joaquin Phoenix, and yet he is so dark, and it's like you can follow the lines in his face, and it just sort of like screws in to his face. And when you look at noir films, they talk about more being revealed in shadow, and I would disagree with Amy Diaz and say that these two performances are performances of a lifetime. Actually, Joaquin Phoenix is it's just like he's coiled snakes in his body, and he uses his hands to keep all of those snakes inside of himself.
It reminded me of Christian Bale's performance, but on a much darker level.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you rather have seen this in black and white?
No. And I'll tell you why. When I first saw the film, the first title card, I expected almost a second title card to come up and say Mercury Theater. I really felt like I had a sense that this was like Orson Welles. I just had a sense, just the way the title card appeared. You know, this film was shot in 70 millimeter. Well, 65 millimeter projected in 70. I think there's a real reason for that, and it's subtle, and it's not anything that an audience should know, but it's supposed to work on your subconscious, and that is to draw you into the films of the 1950s, the Douglas Sirk films. The colors are just so rich and so penetrating, and it's like he's painting with it. I mean, how many films do you know today are being made in 70 millimeter? None.
In fact, the movement is definitely towards digital. We're looking forward to this place within a few months no longer playing 35 millimeter film. It'll all be digitized projection. But what happened here with this particular film, it kind of flies in the face of what seemingly is happening in Hollywood at the moment, that they want to do away with film. They don't want it to be the method of presentation any longer, which after having dealt with it for almost a half a century, I find that unfortunate. I do appreciate what the digital medium can bring, but there is something about film which I don't think it has quite equaled yet, and I can't really put my finger on why, but it's a visual thing within me that says you're not quite there yet for some reason.
Well, there are several masters in this film, and the director, I think, is the master. When he's, if you look, just a few films, and when he gets ready to do films, for example, with the film with Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood, they actually screened Treasure of Sierra Madre a number of times, and Daniel Day-Lewis, made a conscious effort to credit John Huston, and as a classicist director, Anderson is very, very aware of all the films in film history. Not all modern directors or new directors really have such a sense and appreciation of film history. And I mean, you listen to the sound of Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood, and it's almost like he's channeling John Huston in Roman Polanski's film Chinatown. I mean, you get that sense, and it was deliberate. When before they shot this film, Philip Seymour Hoffman was talking about they were screening Citizen Kane, and there's a deliberate relationship, and it's sort of taken into the film. In Boogie Nights, there's a Cuban film called I Am Cuba, and it's a film that Martin Scorsese and I can't think of who the other person was who rescued that film and had that film restored. And for those of you who haven't seen Boogie Nights, there's a scene that's shot in a backyard with a swimming pool, and the scene itself is an exact homage to the film I Am Cuba. It takes the exact placement of the camera, the angle, as it follows a woman as she enters the swimming pool, and it's all deliberate. It's all by design. This film has all of those same tones. He tries to work all of film history in, but it's not that he's just taking film history and putting it back up on the screen. He's taking it and using it and creating something that's even more powerful.
I really liked it. I didn't like it the first time I saw it so much. This is my second viewing, and I enjoyed it immensely more the second time. And after seeing it the first time, I wanted to come back and see it because I said, you know, because there was something left, some residue. I wanted to, and the thing that occurs to me about it, when we were talking about the use of 70mm, there's a severely contrarian aspect to the film. It defies so many conventions, the desire to create likable characters, plot resolution, all the things that you expect in a movie do not exist in this movie, but so much does. And I had this image while you were talking about it. Like it's sort of like rubbing a cat backwards, you know. It's like it's the wrong way. But then it also dawned upon me. Well, the only reason you would do that is to examine. You know, either to be cruel, which is the point. You know, oh, I'm going to hold the cat down and rub it the wrong way. You know, or it's to get under the nap and to see what's there. And the thing that I was much clearer in the second viewing was the incredible details that exist in this. And I knew it was beautifully art directed, but I started looking and finding all of these wonderful little nuggets of imagery and symbolism, and I have to assume they were either intentional or they were so convenient that a viewer would find or would make them out of it. But that wouldn't have happened if I had been merely being carried along in the plot, in the flow of the plot, and rooting for somebody. So that's my impression.
I too agree with the beautiful camera work, but I was wondering if anybody else got the impression that I did, that you used the word charlatan. I didn't feel like I got enough information from the screenplay to make a conclusion about him. I know of the work of L. Ron Hubbard. I'm not a Scientologist, but I didn't come to the conclusion that he was a charlatan. And if I were a Scientologist, I would be very offended by some of the antics.
Well, from what I've been reading in terms of how the film was really put together, it's more of a cautionary tale about megalomania than it is really looking at Scientology.
Yes.
And part of that comes from looking, if you take his two last films and look at them together, that topic, megalomania, it becomes a cautionary tale. He used oil and family and exploitation and manipulation in There Will Be Blood, and he's examining that same topic again, but in a different time period, and but I think in a way that's a little more, I wouldn't say fulfilling, but in a little more balanced, if I can use that word, because the Joaquin Phoenix stands up exactly as strong a character that Hoffman plays, where in the other film, Paul Dano, who played the minister, he didn't quite have the same gravitas, if you will, that Daniel Day-Lewis did, and of course Lewis wins the Academy Award for, I mean, that for so many tremendous roles. I mean, that is a role of a lifetime.
But if you hadn't seen that, would you feel you had enough evidence to say that he himself was not sincere? I got the feeling that he really believed what he was saying.
Lancaster Dodd believed what he was saying. I didn't think so at all, and I think that's part of the reason why he's drawn to Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, the son's comment, he makes it up as he goes along.
Yes.
You know, it's pretty telling.
He changes his message in the second book.
But that was
Yeah,
the
that's
son's
true.
opinion of the father. But on the other hand, the way he acted it, I felt that he believed what he said.
Yeah.
Sort of an
He believed
Elmer
in the
Gantry.
reincarnation.
Say again?
Sort of an Elmer Gantry.
Yeah, that you know, you look at films from the 50s, I was thinking of Magnificent Obsession and Douglas Sirk films, but clearly I think there's a very strong connection there as well.
I think there's a real Rorschach element to this film. You have great visuals,
Yeah.
maybe not enough information, and we're each kind of drawing something from our own personal experience, which probably works on a pretty large scale.
Yeah.
Because some of the visuals are really beautiful.
Stunning, yeah.
But it's, you know, I guess we each take away something different.
I thought Joaquin Phoenix ran away with the whole thing. I thought he should get the Oscar.
Well, was this everybody's first time or pretty for seeing this film?
And
Last? I would say you know, give it about a week, because this film will really work on you, and I think it'll stay with you. It really resonates. There are things that'll come back because the images are so stunning, and then the method, the message. Sort of starts working through. I think it is really a cautionary tale about America as he was exploring in his previous film, and he's using the early 1950s post-war America to explore that and to look at the danger of someone who proclaims the truth or having the truth.
That's right, and it's called The Cause.
Yeah.
And you look at how many people who have nothing to hold on to, lost, maybe not in the depths that Phoenix character was. It could be religion, it could be politics, it could be jingoism, it could be anything. And people do latch onto that and are subject to being manipulated by megalomaniacs. I was thinking of James Jones, thinking of David Koresh, as I saw this film. And it's all very, very possible. What we saw, I don't think, is unrealistic at all. I think you find people who are drawn looking for the cause.
Right.
And lost as they are, they're not going to be found, but they're still drawn to that cause.
Well, beneath his level of civility that he has, there's a nasty, evil person hiding below that. But he radiates such light.
Antichrist.
Yeah, in a sense, yes, very much so.
Am I the only one who liked Lancaster? I didn't get that. I don't see him as dangerous. I don't see him as evil.
See, that's right.
I liked him. The megalomaniac thing explains it.
He's very compelling.
I think he was sincere. I don't. The whole question of whether he believes it or
I
not.
don't think he's. I would say there's one when he's talking with Joaquin Phoenix. There's one of his. I got to think. One of his sessions, I think he calls it. He reveals himself not so much as being sincere about it, but how he becomes his test. Joaquin Phoenix becomes the test and becomes the cause. I think that sort of reveals his manipulation. But I mean, just because he is who he is doesn't mean he's not a character that you like. I mean, he can be a person that you're drawn to. I think you're drawn to immensely.
But is he ascribing some ulterior motive? I think he's just a megalomaniac, and therefore he thinks when he dreams something up, it's real. But that doesn't mean he thinks, oh, I'm going to fool these people, because that's how megalomaniacs work. They don't fool you. That's how a con artist has to believe the con, or he cannot effectively convince anyone else. It's like an actor or an audience has to suspend disbelief, and an actor has to become a role. So he is really, I think he's totally sincere that he thinks that he's been around for 1 trillion years.
But when he's challenged, he falls apart.
Right.
He's challenged 2 or 3 times in the movie, and he loses the movie. He loses his logic and his vision. Which I think says something.
Oh, I agree. Are you just stretching your arm there?
This is really great, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome, folks. We like to think that the theater is unique enough to be able to do something along these lines. It took us a little while to kind of get our act together, and here we are in the 3rd week of the film. But I've seen so many faces come out of this movie, some pleased, some very bewildered, some totally against the film. One man, he came over to me, and I knew who he was, and he kept shaking his head, and he was saying, no, no, no. And I said, didn't like this? And he said, no. I asked him very pointedly, the first thing that came to mind was there no redeeming value whatsoever that you got out of the movie? And he said, absolutely not.
But you know, this is going to be one of the top movies of the year. You're going to see several nominations because of this, and you read some of the best reviews we've seen all year. So I think we owe it to ourselves, liking movies, to see this and try to find merit in it. And some of the cinematography work you described really is going to be right there on top of it.
I think the lighting will also get a nomination. The art design. There's always a question about, you know, film is art, film is commerce. And Barry was telling me earlier that in terms of money, right, box office revenue, it seems to be falling off a bit. But the question is, would this film endure, and will it endure? And I think as for 6 films that he's done, I think this is an enduring statement, and is film as art, and will be looked at for any number of years.
The soundtrack too.
Oh,
Nicely done,
yeah, I mean, he's very, very precise, very deliberate. He really understands film history and how he wants this. Nothing is there by chance. Nothing is there by chance.
Well, I certainly appreciate you being willing to sit here and converse back and forth with us. I hope you've found it a little bit of a nice addendum to your experience here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.